kind of does take a toll.
It does.
But I could go into so many things that happen, so many downfalls. A lot of times you have to anticipate downfalls. The lows will be low.
How did we even get here?
My mom was in Canada before I did, and I came here. My intention was to be an architect. So I went to NSSC, did the drafting thing, did it for 3 years, graduated 2020. Haven't been in the industry for 3 to 4 years. I was like, you know what? Maybe the office gig is not for me. No, maybe it's not. I was investigating the space prior to the shop even running down. Never ran a business before. I've never done this. I don't know how to hire staff.
What is your OT moment? All right, welcome to Overtime Talks, the podcast where culture, community, and craftsmanship meet. And today we are actually going to be talking about a little bit of how that happens. It's showing up little by little. It's a special episode because this is your pilot of Overtime Talks. And I have with me here today the pioneer of why we are even here. I'm so excited to talk to you. We have been talking about this for quite some time. But before we go further, I'm your host, Otni Asariaje, Atlantic Canada's top event host. And my first guest today is the mastermind, actually, behind everything we're going to be talking about today and why we are here. Give it up for Toby!
Thank you.
What's going on?
I think it's absolutely amazing to be in this space.
Yeah.
For us to be able to do this now. I think definitely, like, I don't even know where to start anyway.
Yeah, you know what? Let's start somewhere. I love the fact that I will actually want to call you Oti because, like, my name is Otni, and like people, whenever people want to shorten my name, they're gonna go for Oti. Like in home, people are like Oti, and I'm just like, so this is Oti. But OT also standing for overtime.
Yeah.
Like, are the stars aligned or no?
It's beautiful.
Like, are the stars aligned or no?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? But let me start us off here. How did we even get here? Me and you, not even just this whole thing, just me and you. Why am I sitting in this chair?
I think it's one of those things that you've been putting in over time, and it's just like the work shows for itself. So because when I came across, when I seen you on stage and you were hosting the show down by the casino, I knew that was not your first show. Like I knew that I was like, yeah, like this is a 9 to 5. Like she clocks in, does this, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Me. Initially, like I didn't even know what direction I wanted to take this, and I just knew that once I had seen you, and then the guy behind the scene, Ugo, he was like, "Yo, I know a person, I know a host." I'm like, "Otni?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." It's the fact that we're both thinking on the same space. That means that she's the perfect person for the show. Yeah.
So I mean, in terms of the show, that's how we landed here. Is because you saw me somewhere doing the thing that I do the best, and because I've put my overtime in it. However, when I came across you, and I was telling you this earlier, I saw your work before I saw you.
Yeah.
Like the person behind. And by your work, I mean the craftsmanship part. Like, my name was coming out with any kinds of like haircuts. One of them being like my now husband. I remember coming across like some sort of like footage of, I think you were doing a promotion at that time what was, I believe, Cuts and Vibes maybe or something, right? Because this is, because we're talking since the beginning of all of this coming through, right? So it's like, I saw this video and I was like, oh, these fresh cuts and all these things. And I would forever hear like OT cuts. I just knew of the brand. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So one day you and I had a conversation because outside of everything that I do, I'm an entrepreneurship babe, business advisor. I eat, sleep, breathe entrepreneurship. And you're on the other end of one particular phone call. And your file came to me and I was like, oh my God. You are the guy behind OT Cuts. I was so excited because I was just like, before I saw your work and I already believed in it. Yeah. So talk to me a little bit about that journey because we're not here off of just like starting from, right? No, like it's been quite. Talk to me even before Cuts and Vibes was a thing. But I mean, I want to know, like, you landed in this here Canada. You and I are both immigrants. Definitely. You landed in this here Canada and decided, well,
you got to build something. You have to build something. I don't feel, prior to even cutting hair, I came to Canada 2017. So it was one of those things that, my mom was in Canada before I did. And then I came here. And then when she brought me here, my intention was to be an architect. So I went to NSCC.
I love that. Yeah.
I did the drafting thing. Did it for 3 years, graduated 2020. Before I even got to school, like I was cutting hair as a side hustle. It was just one of those things that I did it for myself. Because I came here and back home I used to get a haircut like pretty much every week.
Yeah.
So when I was in a barbershop, I knew my barber. Like we knew each other by first name basis.
Yeah.
I used to cut my grandpa. So like I was already grandfathered into the barbershop. So like,
let's go.
He knew me.
Yeah.
And when I came here, it's just I didn't find that same level of consistency and that relationship that I had at a barbershop. Because barbershop for us was like, it's like the bus stop, you go there, everyone's there, you're watching the games, watching movies at the shop, like, and things are happening. So pretty much when I got here and I found out like that culture was not here, I kind of just internalized and started doing something for myself. And then a few of my friends loved it at the church. They're like, you're gonna give me a cut. I'm like, no problem. Started doing it. And then when I graduated architecture, barbering was just a side hustle because my intention was to be an architect. And then at that point, I did drafting. So it's not necessarily architecture. You're just making drawings. So someone tells you what to draw and you draw it. So I was just a technician pretty much. I did softwares and stuff like that with the intention to go back to school, to go to Dow and get my architecture degree. And then having been in the industry for 3 to 4 years, I was like, you know what? Maybe the office gig is not really for me. Maybe it's not. And then so what I did was I kind of just started just shopping around. After COVID, an opportunity came to me. I was like, down by the Dow Student Union building. That was actually how Cut and Vibe came up.
Okay. Brought
a few of my friends. I was like, a guy gave me a shop to cut hair. I'm like, I'd like to do something a little bit more. So it was just after COVID and you had to like self-isolate. So you had like this certain number of people you can have at the shop.
Okay.
So what would happen was every Saturday I go to the shop, 10, and I just open up the shop and pretty much all my friends start flooding because it's just me at the shop.
Yeah, and it's COVID time too. It's like, oh my God, somewhere where we can actually like go and like be together. It was amazing
because like I think that was probably what motivated me to really get into the space because we called it Cuts and Vibe. And literally all we did was come open a shop and go live on Instagram. That was literally all.
Really?
Live. We went live for like 5 to 10 hours a day.
Really?
People are just ranting, people are having, and then we built an online community and that was how literally we got a lot of following on Instagram because people just tuned in just for the vibe and it was like right after COVID.
Right.
So people were looking for things to do. Like it was Saturday morning, people were waiting for me to open up the shop every morning.
I had no idea. Okay, so you guys would actually go live on Instagram.
Go live on Instagram.
And nothing is like, no filters, just everybody.
Everybody is just there because like it's literally just me and my friends. So it was easy for me to do it because there's not a lot of people with like I guess opinions and stuff. It was just us being us and people loved it.
And you would touch on any like whatever. We
touched on any subject like that just came up and it was because like it's a barbershop and people expect conversation.
Barbershop vibe. Yeah,
you know
absolutely.
what I mean? So we just put it live on Instagram and sometimes we get blocked off, we go back live again.
Because you probably get too dicey some of the stuff we talking about.
Yeah, it gets way too dicey, so we gotta turn it off and we come back on, bro. We just kept pushing and people just tune in on live just for the vibe and just to feel like
being part of something, being part of a community, probably even giving their inputs and stuff like that. I love that. And so Cuts and Vibes came to be.
Yeah, it came to be. Cuts and Vibe came to be something that kind of outgrew itself. We got to a point, I was kind of getting a lot of traction and then a lot of barbershops found out about me. And then at that point, the barbershop I was working at closed down and I pretty much just, boom, went to another barbershop, told them I had a lot of clientele and I'm looking for a place to work. And they just said, you know what, if you can come here, work Saturday, Sunday, we'll give you the job. And by that time I was working at the office as well. So I was working Monday to Friday at the office and I worked Saturday, Sunday at the barbershop.
At the office doing the draftsman. Okay. So in tandem, still something is happening here. Little like inputs in the buckets of the things that would lead to OT Cuts, but OT Studio as well.
Yeah, I guess like the studio concept itself came in because like while I was cutting hair, it became something of like after you perfect the craft, you almost have to take it another level every time. And I think cutting hair has been something like I really enjoy and I do it to the best of my ability. So now it's about how can I add a community aspect around it? You know what I mean? How can I serve my clients more than just get my hair cut?
I always truly love, and I remember when you approached me to have a conversation about said thing. And I remember going back to my car and I remember putting also like my story on and I was like, I absolutely love when people get to nurture their gifts, because you have a gift. At the end of the day, it is a gift in terms of like when you are able to like make men them feel like they are on cloud nine, like they can't be touched, giving us problems in their streets because they've come out here, they're looking fresh and all these things, and probably even whatever conversation has gone on whilst you were cutting hair and all of those things, community. When you are able to, as a person, and I remember saying this on the story, take your gift, nurture it enough that it becomes a thing that starts to come outside of you, that it starts to now benefit like the community that is around you. And you've used your craftsmanship to kind of like get to a place where you've built this thing, which is absolutely amazing to me. So, okay, talk to me about one thing about the thing that probably people don't know and they're going to come to find out is right now we are seated in the actual studio. By studio, I also mean this is the actual like barbershop, but it's so much more as well. And I want you to really dissect as to what exactly this, and I also want you to talk about like even where it's located, because it's on one of the greatest streets of the city that we live in, Halifax, Nova Scotia. But I really want you to like delve in and really talk about what we are actually sitting in. And Mr. Editor or whoever, just make sure you put the clip here of how gorgeous this place is and beautiful and very intentional as well. But how did this come about?
I think it's just one of those things, like I think there's little components of myself in different aspects of it. So I absolutely love that. I love the fact that we have a barbershop in here. People come in here. We have a podcast in here as well. We have a braiding lounge, and that's for the ladies as well. And then we also have a studio concept as well. Whereas like we are a full production team, we are like the intention is to definitely build something that, it's unrivaled in the city, and absolutely it's in a way, and we want to serve the community in a way that has, like, especially like here, like in the North End, because, like we're based like in a community-based part of the city, very North End. Businesses here, like they come hand in hand and they want to work together, like to build up the North End. And the position here that I think this is perfect for us, because what we're trying to do right here, we built the community. The businesses around us are definitely going to benefit from it, because people come in here, they get to see your business consistently. And that is only going to bring more traction around here, And I think the community here, like they also host like some events, like the Regular Street Party. And we would definitely love to be part of that. Last year we came and did free cuts before we opened.
Oh, that's amazing.
So we came in, and just that alone, we've had clients flood in. Be like, yo, we were there, for the street party. We say you guys are opening. We love the free cuts you're doing. And they came in and they absolutely love the experience. Yeah. So like, and the team we have here is absolutely amazing. The guys who are here, they're all hardworking, passionate, and they all have their own different lanes. So almost like you give them a template and they take that template to do what they need to do with it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I love about this space as well. So we like, it's not like a controlled environment. It's controlled enough for you to be creative, which is the most important thing.
Oh, I love that. It's controlled enough for you to be creative. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, that's kind of like the key thing, is like giving that fluidity to people to be able to continuously like express in whatever manner. And Otti Studio has that. It has people like doing their creativity, whether it's through the barbershop, whether it's through the studio, whether it's through the podcast, whether it's through the things that you will connect with people based on everything that you'll be doing in the studio. And I really like that. I really do.
I'm like, even like, like with the ladies section, like I've not done braiding and I don't do braiding, but at the same time, we give them the opportunity to come in and absolutely build an audience for themselves as well. And also it gives us the opportunity to also not just serve just guys, because like, yes, we're cutting guys, we give them fresh cuts, to be out in the streets, but that's,
the problems, giving us problems, but at the same time giving us, it's good.
And then we also want to do the same thing, like for the ladies, give them the opportunity to come in. And I also think is like, there's not enough spaces that, facilitate interaction between male and female. And we want to create that space, make it a very safe space. People can come in here, have conversation. And I think this podcast is definitely going to give us the opportunity to take what we're doing in-house and take it outside.
Bring it out. And you are doing that. In all honesty, like we can already see like the glimpse here and there that this is going to be exactly how you envisioned it to be, and probably even more. But just in terms of the architecture itself, did you go ahead and do like the design? Because like at this point, like you have in you draftsmanship, architectural knowledge, and all of these things to really bring everything together. And so did you get to like have fun with that as you were creating the space?
Yes, I absolutely enjoyed creating the space. It was a lot of stress.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know how it was going to turn out, because, you know, your ideas are your ideas, but in reality it's completely different.
Yeah.
It was one of those things I feel like over the years of me working at various barbershops, having been a barber for so long, it kind of made me know what I needed out of barbershop, things that helps me work efficiently. You know, because in architecture they teach you design has to be efficient. You know, you have to design for potential problems. You know what I mean? So in this case, you know, everything here, make sure that everything, like the barbering section, it's its own section. You know, the podcast section, it's its own section.
Yeah.
You know, but at the same time, they all come together to feed off each other. You know what I mean? In terms of designing the space, it was one of those things that I knew exactly what I wanted. You know, when I had seen the space, funny enough, this was not the original space that was offered.
Okay.
So I had to turn the other space down. We can't say what the space is. This was not, when the space was available, this space was not available for when I wanted it to be available. So it was one of those things I just, you know, I was like, you know what, if this is what I want and it's not available, I'll wait for it, you know. And I just waited and waited and waited. And then one day the shop I was working at burnt down, and, you know, a guy who owns the space like, yo, now's the time if you want it to be for you.
Well, what? Because the place burnt down when you were previously at, or the place that you were offered?
Like place I was at was place I was previously at.
Burnt down.
Yeah, so and then it just became one of those things, just a random day. I was like, oh, I guess we just have to get a fresh start.
Wonder for you in that moment though, OT, was it like, oh my God, this place is burnt down? Like, not even what was me. It's just like, gotta figure things out or whatever. Or was it for you like, all right, that just means like the next step has to take place now?
I feel like, especially for my life and my life experiences, like I've had a lot of negative experience, but I don't really look at it that way. It's one of those things that I was like, once I have an experience that almost like wants to bring me down or wants like kind of slow me down a little bit, I'm like, yo, small reasons to lock in.
So you find you actually gain fuel when like something is trying to like pull you back.
Yeah, like I love being doubted, you know, because to me it's like, okay, even if I don't even get it done, it's just the achievement. Like I just feel there's this juice that I'm like, okay.
And the aspect of like continuously keep going. One thing that when we were having our discussions and the numerous talks that you and I have had was the understanding of overtime. Like when people hear like overtime, every time I hear overtime, I just think Drake, OT, there's no much time. When you hear OT, I have to sing it out so that it stays out of my brain. But essentially overtime, whenever I'll put it in that overtime, there is a notion behind that word overtime. It's almost giving like, you know, grind culture. Like you got to keep going, whatever it is, you got to keep, put in that overtime. And then I sat with you, and then we had our discussion, and you told me the version of what overtime, let alone overtime talks, overtime anything, meant to you. And from there, I was like, let's go right now. Put the cameras on, everything. I just need everybody to hear this, because to me that aligned more. That's the thing I understood more. So walk me through what overtime means to you.
The concept of overtime talks or overtime, it's one of those things, you know, I've looked at myself. It's like, I believe in putting overtime regardless, you know, because
of course,
the things that, you know, when you put in overtime and you don't actually realize that you put in overtime, because to you, you're just like, you know, this is just Otni showing up, you know, and obviously like you've been putting in overtime because it shows in your work. Like when you see people putting in overtime, you can smell it on them. You know, you can smell that hard work on them. You can smell that rain or shine, bro. Like they showing up to work. You know, I look at myself as like in this space in the studio is like, rain or shine, I'm gonna be here. Snowstorm or no snowstorm, I'm gonna be here. Because to me, it's not overtime. You know, it's just work.
It's just work.
I looked at myself, you know, like at different industries that I've worked in, there are places I dread putting overtime. I dread it. It's not just that I don't want to I don't have the capacity for it. I do, but it's just, to me, it feels like it's extra work. You know, and in a space like this where I'm consistently clocked and consistently putting overtime, it just became one of those things. I'm like, yo, overtime my work has to show, bro. Like, and it just came the idea of like overtime talks. I'm like, it does talk. You know, I look at all the people putting in overtime. I'm like, damn, like these people really putting overtime, you know? And at that point, I'm just like, yo, like it's absolutely, and then it just plays off with the, you know, overtime talks in terms of like verbally speaking overtime talks in terms of actually showing work. Overtime talks in so many different ways that I think like, especially here in the city, like what we're trying to plug in is we're just trying to find people putting overtime, you know, and there's a lot of people putting overtime. And I think the intention of the studio is to kind of give them a stage to stand on. You know what I mean? Give them a platform to show that, yo, listen, I've been putting overtime. You know, it's about time for me to get my recognition.
Absolutely. Like letting this be one of the avenues that lets your overtime talk, right? That lets your overtime show in terms. And so what excited me most was just and I had just recently there's a notion I'm now living by. I mean, it's been there, it's always been there, but it's that understanding of like, you know, consistency is no matter what you do, consistency in anything is going to show at some point, and it's up to you to be consistent in that thing, no matter how long or short, but as long as that there's that consistency aspect. And so even when I was speaking to you, it was really like the understanding of like over time, all the work that you have put in, no matter what it looks like, leading to what that one designated thing that you want to see for yourself or you want to see out of yourself, it is going to show. It cannot help but to. You know, it can't help but to. So and so it will talk for itself. So essentially that overtime is now the one like talking, right? So when we came to that, like for me, epiphany or whatever, I was just like, well, let's make sure to really explain it the way that it is that we feel it, or explain it in the way in which we are aligned with it. And for you, as I'm like, I constantly hear your journey, see where you have been through, see the work that you have done, even in whether it's the draftsmanship, whether it's the starting from now I know cuts and vibes and the Instagram lives. Okay, I'm a rapper now. Did you hear that? Cuts and vibes and the Instagram lives. I'm a rapper now. But like even that, just knowing that each and every bit of that was you working and being, you know, consistent with what it is that you were doing. You're showing up in COVID, showing up when the other store burnt down. You're showing up, right? The aspect of growing through showing up consistently and over time having it speak for itself.
Yeah. Absolutely, and like just to add to that, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I think consistency, you know, is one of those things that I think, because I think people always tend to think in one line, to think straightforward, but sometimes, you know, there's always other compartments around it, because people think when you say consistency, it means you have to be putting in. Just look at it like, even if you're doing something bad, you know, the overtime will show. It will show. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's your choice to make where you want to put in the time. You know what I mean? Like, where do you want to clock in? It's you walk in one, you clock in, you know, regardless of what you're doing, if it's good or bad, over time it will show.
It will show.
And it will talk for you. And that will be the perception that people have of you. You know what I mean? Because you've been clocking that time.
Yeah.
You know, I was telling one of my guys this, I was like, if you carry a camera long enough, people will assume that you're a photographer.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna go with. Yeah.
That's just what they need. They just need to see what a camera long enough that they just in their mind, they don't even have to. If someone said, yo, like, you know a photographer? Yes, I do, because I see this guy with a camera every day.
And they're gonna shout you out. They're gonna be the guy that they refer to.
That's just what to me overtime mean. And once it clocked, and I'm like, yo, listen, like, actually, my hard work in anything I do does show. So I have to pick certain avenues to put in that climb and clock it in, and then build a system around it to make sure that we're consistent and we're able to sustain that overtime, because overtime is taxing.
I like that. And I like to then even with the aspect of putting the overtime in something, then building a system out of it. Which is where which is the reason
we're here.
We are here even, you know? And I absolutely love that. Okay, let me ground things a little bit here, because we are very much so on the high and the come up here and all of these things. I want to know some of the things that through this entire journey of putting in the work, right, have been, I don't want to call them challenges, because you certainly weren't even seeing them as challenges as you were going through them. You were using them as your fuel, you know? But like in those spaces, because like at the end of the day, like we're going to have folks who are going to be watching and coming in as well, who are going to be gaining some insight that it's going to help them, for them to keep going in the thing that they're putting the overtime in. How were you navigating in some of these like areas? I mean, you already spoke of one challenge of that, the other store burning down, or even like getting the space, and like just the in-betweens. Like it's not about us preaching like, oh my God, like eventually things will be great for you. It's a journey that definitely has its ebbs and flows.
Definitely is a journey. The downs, the lows will be low. The lows will be low. And, you know, just like the stock market, it goes up and down. And some days it's good, some days it's bad. Personally, like, I don't know, but I could go into so many things that's happened, so many downfalls and so many distractions that's happened. But at the same time, it's like, just like I said earlier, you know, it's not one of those things that you're like, yo, the world is ending. You know what I mean? It's not ending. The world is not ending. You know, you're alive. You breathe. You know, you can get. You know, you have. As long as
you are breathing.
You know, you have two arms, two legs. You know, and you have a head on your shoulder. I think is one of those things I find, like me. I'm a planner. I think that's what the architecture thing kind of helps me out. So a lot of times you have to anticipate downfalls. You know, you have to anticipate like a pitfall for yourself. It doesn't like you don't have to be the most negative person, but sometimes you have to be pessimistic. You have to be put a little bit of pessimism there in case if something does happen, so you plan for it. Like when the shop burnt down, in my mind I had a backup plan. It wasn't really a plan, but it just needed a little bit of spark for me to say, okay, yo,
get the juice to kind of push you, because sometimes that is another, I guess, hindrance where we get comfortable in the space of a journey that we are in, right? Meanwhile, the momentum needs to keep going.
Oh, bro, and things are like you also get comfortable in the pitfall sometimes. You know, you get like sometimes want to feel pity for yourself, and you just want to be there feeling. Yeah. But sometimes you just need a little bit of a plan B. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be everything set to plan. Yeah. But it's just the fact that I was investigating a space prior to the shop even burning down. So I didn't even have a solid plan to hold it was just the fact that I was like, yo, in case if I ever wanted to, why not? Like, let me ask a few questions. Had a few clients, you know, who own space. I'm like, yo, if I ever want to do my own thing, do you think you have a space for me? Blah. I was like, maybe I do. Then the shop burns and he sees my story and he's like, actually, I just might have a space for you. I'm like, well, plan A is out the window. Plan B
has to is in session. Plan B is in session. Let's talk about that, because at some point, like a lot of people always go on their plan A's, and I do understand the aspect of like being prepared and all of these things, but it's truly gut wrenching for others whereby plan A actually doesn't work, where plan B truly has to be in session. Now you got to bring that forefront. You know what I mean?
And it hurts more, I find, like when you don't have a plan B and plan A is already out the window. Now that time of trying to come up with a plan B gives you more time to almost feel bad. You're like, you know what I mean? Like you almost, because you don't have a plan B, now you have to go back in the kitchen, start cooking up. You like, it kind of gives you that time. You're like, oh, I gotta go get the recipe. I gotta get the pot. The stove is not even on. You know what I mean? Meanwhile, I've already put plan A, and plan A seems like, bro, we ain't gonna be eating plan A. Bro, pot's already in session for plan B. So then it gives you almost don't even have time to think about, oh, plan A is not working anymore. You just have to walk in and be like, yo, okay. Right now it's like, just like in this space, you know, I wouldn't say that I have a plan B, but all my eggs are in this basket, but at the same time it's like, you know, we have different departments. We have plan 8.1.
They may be in this basket, but then like they're in different compartments of the basket. Exactly. Okay. 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, you know, give us things to play around with, you know, and I think that's where the podcast comes into place, the barbershop, the braiding space, and whatever it is you want to take on, you know what I mean? So and then the thing I think is about overtime that we need to understand is there's things that also start to come to you or open up that you probably didn't even like see as part of like what you're trying to do or put into your journey, but makes sense to do so.
Absolutely.
Right? And those for me, I think are the most sweetest, the most sweetest little things whenever you are going through this particular overtime journey, is when those like things come to you because it's right in the path. Why not take it?
Why not?
Why
it's like
not?
a side quest that you just have to complete.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. Has there been anything like that for you in this entire like journey?
Absolutely. Like when I started initially, like I didn't even know how I was gonna get a team together.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know. I had zero. Like when I sent you on the plate, it said it was just gonna be me in the space running the space. I'm like, I don't know, I'm gonna 6 months, 8 months, blah blah blah. And then once we kind of just I literally posted one post, and then I had like people just like, yo, listen, like I would love to come be in the space. I would love to be in the space. And to me, I was like it just literally scrapped. I was like, oh, it's kind of easier than I thought it was going to be, because I had anticipated all this little pitfalls. I'm like, oh, I've never ran a business before. I've never done this. I don't know how to hire staff. I don't know. But it just seemed like all the experience just came together, and everything was just clicking one after the other, one after. Now we have a full staffed. We have 2 great.
Yeah, because if you guys see behind the scenes, it's a full-fledged team.
Like it's a full-fledged team, and now
it's a full-fledged team.
And now we have a whole media team as well. Yeah. So like everything is just clicking, and I find
that's the
like,
beauty.
This is one of those places where I like Halifax, because people people know each other. You know what I mean? People there's a lot of mutuals. So it just makes things, once you're right in the right space, once you position right, people will come find you at your position.
So when I was opening the podcast right now, I said, welcome to the podcast that brings culture, community, and craftsmanship together, right? And I want you to touch on those different components just a little bit, because that is basically the anchor of like, not just the podcast itself, but like, pretty much Otti Studio, Otti Overtime, talks like everything together. Yeah. So let's break it down a little bit. Like when I was speaking to you, I was very much so like, at this point, I was like, you had me at hello, okay? But like when you talk about what's culture to you.
Yeah.
And culture, the way you explained it to me, was very, again, different from what...
I think with the whole culture thing, actually, before we start on that, is like, example, like we started with Cuts and Vibes. Cuts and Vibe was something that it was cuts, you come and get a haircut, and it was a vibe. It was genuinely a vibe, because then it was just me and my friends. We're 10, 20 of us in one room. I'm the only barber. It's chaos. There's no real moderator. We're live on Instagram. We just whatever goes. But it was essentially what it was. And then it felt like when we open up the space, it couldn't just be Cuts and Vibes anymore, because we had so much more. And from that whole vibe that we were doing, giving out cuts, we created a culture, that people thought that they wanted to be part of. People used to come to the shop not for haircuts. They just wanted to sit there and engage in conversation. You know what I mean? So I noticed that we were building a culture about us. There was a certain level of influence we were getting, because we're doing something great for people, and people love it and they want to be part of it. So consistently, I was like, yo, we're already building a culture, and we already have a community. And the reason why all these things come together is because of the craftsmanship. It's because of the quality of the work we're putting out. And like, no one wants to get bad work, you know what I mean? People, like, you want something that's consistent, something that, it's like a swordsmith, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort. You got to put the metal in the iron, you got to cook it, you got to make sure that everything is timed right, you got to take it at the right time. So I think it's when people see that level of craftsmanship, see the level of effort you're willing to go to make sure your work is perfect, and you're not doing it for them. And it's like, at this point, when I cut your hair, I don't cut it for you. I'm not doing it because, yes, you want a great haircut.
Yeah, I get it. You look great,
you look good,
but I understand that there's something.
Me. It's me. I'm doing this for me, because like, I see it as a canvas. When you go outside, people look at your haircut, they're like, yo, where did you get that cut? Because every cut is, to me, and that's why, like, sometimes the amount of time I used to cut, it used to be long.
Really?
It used to be terrible. Bro, I used to get like 2-hour haircuts.
Really?
Almost 3
you were
hours.
trying, because you were mastering your craft.
I was mastering my craft, and things that my friend they didn't really care for it, because they were like, yo, this guy's gonna sit here. No matter how long it takes him to get this done, he would sit here. I used to cut like 12 hours. I used to work 10 to 10, like 10 in the morning, 10 to night. That's just what we're doing. Just there cutting.
No, that's overtime.
And it wasn't even. It doesn't even feel like it.
It doesn't, yeah. Especially like if you're working in like whatever it is that is your gift, and you're nurturing it. And the other way that you also like explained culture to me was, just culture as a thing that brings people together, which was like a certain mindset or a certain value that the people in the pool, a certain craftsmanships, no matter what it is, no matter if you're like a photographer, a barber, an entertainment host, there is that mindset that each and every one of us has that ties us together, which becomes the culture of the person who carries a certain like craft and wants to see it continuously build, right?
I just wanted to go off what you're saying. It's like the craftsmanship. Every time I think of craftsmanship, I'm thinking of a bunch of craftsmen coming together. You know, they've just three people in a room of like you've built a likeliness, a culture around you. And then the more you grow, that becomes a community. People feel like you're like, yo, I want to be part of this community, you know. But it takes a lot of like how I see community is kind of like Otti Studio. You know what I mean? That's what it is. And then in Otti Studio, there's different craftsmanship. You know, there's this part is a different craftsmanship. The barber is a different. And then all that thing come together, we create a culture. You know, all that different crafts come together.
There is a culture.
And then when people see that culture, they're like, oh, I would love to be part of it. In my mind, I'm like, that's what the community, they want to be associated with that community. Because the culture creates a community.
It does.
And it takes craftsmen to create a culture.
It does, yeah.
So, like, you can call it like the fact, you can like just, craftsmanship is like barbers coming together. They have a culture around them, you know, around the barbers. People doing the media, they have this culture around them. There's a way they move. There's a way barbers dress. There's a way hairdressers dress. And you can always identify them. But when you see them all together, then you're like, there's something about these people that these people also have, but they're not in the same craft. But you can see.
And that's that culture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah, I'm right there. I am picking up what you're putting down, OT. Like and that's why I was like, put me in there. Put me in there, you know, like I genuinely, because it's something I could relate to just coming out of like what I do. Me and you do separate things. You know what I mean? But it's one of those like I was very much so like I was like, this aligns. It aligns with me. The aspect of community being built from the aspect of culture, right? And I was very much so enamored, and I absolutely loved it.
I think one of my proudest achievement was one of the funny. Like I'll give two examples.
Yeah.
When I quit my job, when I quit my 9 to 5, it took a lot of mental stability. It took a lot of mental effort. And before I even get into quitting my job, at that point was one of my proudest moments as well. Was when I had walked into the barbershop after cutting vibe, I had gone to the Big Mustache. I told him, I was like, yo, I have a bunch of clients and I'm looking for a space for me to come in and cut hair. It was one of those things that kind of showed me that it wasn't really about your resume. I just walked in and the guy was like, yo, if you think you're that guy, come show me on Saturday.
Stop right there, because can you imagine being told, like, you know, if you, and whether or not it was those exact words, but it was one of those, like, if you think you're that guy.
Yeah, if you think.
I just want us to pause there for a second and just like sit in that. Why? Because like as anyone is going through their journey in their craft and whatever it is that they're doing, if you are not moving and feeling as if you are that guy, or at least see it enough for you to be like, yeah,
and it's so, because it gave me so much confidence. Not only did he tell me, yo, come prove yourself, I went there and I killed it. Because in my mind I'm like, yo, he said kill it. That's what he said. He said kill it. I'm like, okay, you gave me the license. If I do it, don't blame me.
Yeah.
So it was absolutely beautiful, because not only he's like, yo, and then I came there, I was working Saturdays, and he's like, yeah, we need you to work Saturday, Sunday. And in my mind, I'm like, how am I gonna live this life of just work? So because I was working out the office Monday to Friday, off at 5. I'm at the shop from 10 to 7 on Saturday, Sunday. So I was like, yo, talk to my lady at the time. She's like, I don't know how you're gonna do it. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do it. So I just kept showing up. And I just, at that point, I was working 7 days a week. Like, and at some point I was like, yo, listen, what do I really want to do? Am I gonna be working 7 days a week for the rest of my life? No. I did that for like 2 years, no days off. And at that point I'm like, yo, listen, like I need to make a decision. So I went to my office. I was like, yeah, like I think I really want to quit. You know, this is not for me anymore. I don't have the same passion, the same drive that I have for it. And my manager at the time told me, is like, you know, you have to thug it out. You know, you have to go through a tough time. And I looked at this man in the face. I was like, yeah, to be honest, like I believe in what you're saying, because I live by that motto.
Yeah.
Thug it out. But I don't want to thug it out here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If I'm gonna thug it out, it ain't here.
It ain't here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not really about that I didn't have the same work ethic. I had everything. You know, I understood what I needed to do, but it's just I knew that the level of hard work, because I was working 7 days a week. How much harder do you want?
Yeah.
Like,
what else is there?
Like, you know, I could be in the office here 7 days a week, but I don't want to. I'd rather be doing that at the shop. You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, if I'm willing to work harder somewhere else, I can't come in. I told him, I was like, my heart is in here. If you want to pay me to be here, no problem. But like, you won't get the same level of effort I'm putting elsewhere. So I would have just have you let me go. And in that moment, it clicked to me. I'm like, yeah, like if I'm willing to go to this extent and put myself through these level of work, there's nothing that's really stopping me, is there? So I just have to literally grind. I have like head down, tunnel vision.
What an OT moment. So it was basically essentially like, you know, you had not after, it wasn't even like jump off the cuff. Like it was just like you really analyzed it and you're like, I can do the grind. Nobody can tell me that I can't do the grind. I'm doing the grind. I am grind. You know what I mean? But like I'm going to make an executive decision here and I'm going to put the grind more somewhere else than somewhere else.
Yeah. Because at the same time, you know, I think so something we have to make sure we say here is that overtime does take a toll.
It does.
Overtime will take a toll on you. So I think it's one of those things that you have to make sure you know where you want to put in your overtime. Because you can't be putting overtime everywhere. You can be a master of various different crafts, but they have to be able to speak to each other. You know, you can't be a master in bungee jumping. Now you want to go be a 100-meter. You know what I mean? Like those are two different things.
And let's talk about that a little bit more, because I want you to make sure you're giving the kids something to eat here. You know what I'm saying? Like it's true. An example of it, which is very good, is like I'm a host. Like it's what I do. And what I do is like I host events and all these things. For the longest time, I sat with that. I sat with it because I knew that something else can come out of this. Absolutely. But I just needed to make sure like it is something that it made sense and it is feeding into each other. So such as this, like with your, like as opposed to like, I got the architecture thing here and I got the barbershop. Yeah, how do we like, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. So even with like the hosting at some point in time, then it finally clicked. But it also came out of understanding like the needs that are coming out of when people are talking to you. Because that's another thing when you're going through your journey. You have the barbershop aspect coming, but the amount of times you have heard people come and talk to you about your said thing that makes you think about, but you know what? I could add on this into this. It'll come. So for me, it was more the timing in which when do I expand this outside of myself into something else. And so outside of the hosting, and then really, because the toll also comes in, there's the craft that you know that comes naturally to you. I mean, of course, after like practice, but then there's a point in time where you sit down exactly where you were. And the guy was like, if you think you're that guy, and you were like, well, I am. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. I am. And it's gotten to the point, I know I am that person. I am Atlantic Canada's top event host. That didn't just come out of like, oh, you wake up and you decide. There's sheer like, you know, hours and overtime that was put into that. But even out of that came Tower Communications, which is helping people with their communication skills, right? So that's what I do. I'm a communication specialist. But I had to sit on that for the longest time before I brought that out to be like, oh, okay. But I absolutely understand like what you're saying, to be like, yeah, like the barbershop and everything was there, but then for it to then like get to where it is now, there's a lot of like thought, but it had to make sense. Do these things flow into each other?
It makes it, bro. Like especially like I draw a lot of examples from, you know, people who've done it before me, you know. You know, like example, like, you know, like my name, like I like to call myself, you know, the man behind the scenes. And one thing I believe in that is that, you know, you have to reference a lot of people who've done it before you, you know, and after you've referenced them, you take what they've done and then you put your own spin on it. You know what I mean? The man behind the scene is kind of this concept of there's a person behind the scenes. The scene is what people get to see, but it takes the man who puts in the effort, all that stuff, for you to get to see all these pictures, you know, the videos, all that stuff. It takes a lot of effort. And at the same time, it's like, it can't be a completely different thing. Because I look at, let's look at big brands or big companies, whatever they do it within the same industry, within the same, it could be someone making clothes. Now they make active wear. Now they make athleisure wear. You know what I mean? It's not so different, but it is.
But
you know
it
what
is.
I mean?
Yeah.
Same, but
different but same. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of those things. So you can't because then that's when it's gonna start taking unnecessary tolls on you, and then you find that it takes more effort. You can't sustain the level of effort that you want to put in. You can't sustain that level of greatness that you want to achieve.
Yeah.
And that's the most important thing, sustain, maintain, and just consistency. I believe you don't have to be good at anything. You don't have to be great. It's just showing up every day.
And I truly like that aspect of making sure that you, when the toll comes, it's almost bearable. Do you know what I mean? There's days you and I, we're stressed. I'm stressed. You know what I mean? But I'm stressed at least in something that I know I can maintain and I can sustain. You know what I mean? It makes sense for me. And it also makes sense for me why I am stressed about this.
Yeah.
Now, if you find me being stressed about something that's totally outside of this that I do, there's, a disconnect there, because out of that kind of being stressed or whatever, it's just pushing that growth aspect. It's just pushing that now we're moving from, mediocre to the master of a certain thing. You know what I mean? Through those, as opposed to we're everywhere else. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those. Yeah, no, I absolutely get it. On the particular podcast, we're going to have this thing where we call it the OT moment, which is the overtime moment. And this is something I want you to talk to me about. What would be the time that in your overtime journey, you got to learn something and bring forth to this journey that you learned then and you still hold until now? What was your overtime moment?
One of the OT moments is the relationships I've built, through a lot of effort I've put in. I like to kind of shout out to those relationships.
Yeah.
Those relationships have really taken me a new level because I find just when I need something, there's someone right there that I just know, is and it's just great because I've seen faces outside this place, and then we never really know that this person, you're gonna connect with them later on 6 months from now,
and not knowing the aspect, just really connecting with people, and then you just know
that it's just one of those funny moments, and I just see how the relationships I've built helped us be here today. Today is there's so many people. I feel even in the future, the people that we're gonna have on a podcast, it's gonna be a testament to the relationship we've built, and the relationship we continue to build in the community, and how we continue to give back to the community. I think those relationships are definitely, and that's definitely that would be one of those the rewards for the OT moment that I've gotten, and I think it's definitely gonna keep growing because where we're going right now with what we're building, it's absolutely untouched, and I think it's gonna be unrivaled.
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm getting goosebumps, but thank you very much for coming on this, for being and creating and being the mastermind of this particular podcast, but just even vision at large, bringing the culture, the community, the craftsmanship together. I'm very appreciative, and I'm very appreciative to be part of the alignment that is with this.
Without a doubt. You put in your OT, you deserve the spotlight.
Because at the end of the day, you got to put your OT.
Absolutely.